my good friend John Anderson, who is Executive Chairman of Triumph Gold Corporation, trading on the TSX venture under the symbol TIG, has graced us with his presence at short notice. So, John, thanks for coming.
Great. Thanks for having me, James. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while.
Professionally, too.
Exactly. Triumph Gold has had a long and storied history. However, not under the name Triumph Gold. It used to be called Northern Free Gold. I followed it, and I made some money, but I lost more than I made. So ultimately, it was a painful experience for me. And then, lo and behold, here it is, almost a decade later. You read it, and it's now, how much did you roll it back?
It was rolled back 10 for 1 before I took control of it.
Wow, so it's now trading at 50 cents, so compared to the old days, that would be $5.
I'm almost break even for my first purchase. So.
And your press releases suggest you've taken a different tack, and you're not actually drilling the old deposit, you're drilling some new targets.
Yeah, correct. So back in 2015, when we reorganized the company and took it over, what the company had, it was a very substantial low-grade resource. We've experienced that before. So the project had a very large near-surface resource that we knew at $1,500, $1,600 would be worth a lot more than what the trading the value of the company was at. So we took a long-term approach and said, let's get control of the asset. It doesn't have any payments. It had very little debt on the company. We cleaned up the debt and looked at it. So when gold actually started to come back again into where I think it's going, the project was going to have a lot of value. And we really cut the burn rate down to almost nothing. And really we were going to sit there, and we would probably be sitting there today in that same situation if it hadn't been for Goldcorp showing up in the Yukon and giving the whole region a credibility bump.
Right, and so we're talking the Yukon here, which is where there's been several major discoveries over the last decade. So then how, you've got drilling underway right now?
Yes, correct. So just about a year and a half ago, Goldcorp came in, bought 20% of the company at a premium to the value of what the company was trading at that time. And they gave us $6.5 million to do 15,000 meters. So we ended up doing that close to 15,000 meters last year. And it was based not on going after the old resource or upgrading the resource. It was based on our Vice President of Exploration, Tony Baresi, came up with new geological concepts on the property well outside that resource. And it was, again, not trying to look at a $1,500, $1,600 gold project, something that was relevant right now. So we spent Goldcorp's money, half of Goldcorp's money, still had $3 million when we finished the program, and tested 5 of Tony's ideas, and really excited by what he came up with last year.
Right, so you put out one hole on the 31st of July, 72 meters, 1.3 grams per ton. Now, this being, or then particularly being, the absolute bear market, we don't care if you drill through Fort Knox, we're not buying the stock. That in normal times would send the stock on a serious value appreciation curve.
Yeah, again, exploration, as you know, it's a process. Right. And last year's process, what Tony developed was come up with these ideas, test these ideas, and we successfully hit on 4 of his 5 ideas. The one that didn't work out, we'll joke about it afterwards with Tony, but they were really successful. But they weren't things that rocked the market. Things in the Yukon were a little difficult last year. It took forever to get assays back. Our stock had gone up to 57, 58 cents Canadian during that period. And unfortunately, it took a couple months to get the assays back. However, when we had those assays, we knew we were onto something, but they weren't something that was going to rock the market like the recent results of Golden Ridge or the SIC or anything that's going on right now. But it was a process, and Tony knew we had something, and so this year's program was vector in off of that success from last year and try to target exploration, results for this year.
Sure. So you're going to have results coming out from this year's drill program at some point in the near future?
Yeah, correct. We started in early April, did a winter program. It was a little slow just because as we were having global freezing over on the East Coast, we were actually having an early thaw up in the Yukon. So drilling was a little slow off the start, but we came up with the first results for just about 25% of what our exploration program was for this year.
Oh, okay.
So that's what you're referring to. We've still got 2/3 of the results to come out, and I think it's about 73, 74 holes that we're drilling this year.
Wow.
On 6 different targets.
Okay, so there's good gold values, good copper values. This is looking like a porphyry, I guess.
The WOW breccia is what we're calling it.
Okay.
That's this discovery that you're referring to. It's
we met over a breccia, as I recall.
That's right. The 12-ounce ones.
Right.
But the WOW breccia is outside the resource, and it was, again, based on Tony's theory, and we plugged a couple holes in it this year, and it was really successful. And it came down to Tony's theory that all the ages of mineralization we had on the property, you had something that superimposed the original aged rock of 140 million years. I won't want to, bore a lot of the neophytes in this, but you had a mineralized event that happened 60 million years ago that created the fracture of that breccia, and that's where somewhat you would see a lot of the high-grade gold come through. And so that's what the WOW breccia, W-A-U breccia is about.
Okay, so then the holes that are going to be released in due course here are from that WOW breccia zone, or is this from? No,
it's going to be from different areas. Okay. So we finished the WOW breccia. We also finished the Kirsten zone, which was a very large step out last year, and it was a successful technically. We announced the results from Kirsten of this year. They weren't anything spectacular, but again, it's just like last year's drilling. We had technical success, we didn't have grade success. So we'll evaluate those properties, those results from Kirsten and try to vector in.
So when you say technical success, you mean you've found the structures where you theorized they would be, but you just didn't hit the high grade portion of that structure?
Correct. And we didn't hit a lot of great mineralized rock. Well, we had mineralized rock, but there was not a lot of ore grade material in it. So what we're focusing on for the rest of the program is, again, Tony's success last year is focusing in on those technical successes and vectoring in and try to figure out where the source for this is, and that's what we're working on right now.
Okay, so now the resource that was developed throughout the 2000s, that resource is completely set aside for now, pending higher gold price to make it more interesting?
Yeah, so that resource was done. It was formerly with a PEA that was attached back in 2012, 2013.
And what were the metrics there again?
That was done at 1260 gold and, 265 copper and 1260 gold. And it was positive, but again, we're scratching the surface for this exploration property.
What was the size of it?
It was 88 million tons. From the nucleus and the revenue deposit. Again, we know that's there, and that's a great call option on higher gold and,
that's
and copper prices.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make.
So
you've already got one
we
deposit.
Got that. So we'll call that's in our back pocket.
Right.
So we know at a higher gold price, higher copper price, these things will be valid again. And again, we were going to sit there and do nothing, and it wasn't until Goldcorp showed up and bought Kaminak up the street from us before we decided to go back and do some exploration on the project. And so in 2016, what we did is we hired Tony independently. He didn't work for us. And Tony is a specialist in Western Cordillera porphyry systems and economic geology, and told us what is the potential outside of that resource. And so he spent 4 weeks on the property and worked afterwards and came back and said, there's gold everywhere. You've got a lot of placer operations on the project that are running successfully to this date. You've got high-grade scarrings, you've got epithermal veins, you've got mesothermal, you've got a polymetallic deposit, which is very much like Rock Haven's deposit to the south. And literally everywhere you go, there's gold. And to stress the magnitude of what the project is, it's not just a big land staking package. It was strategically put together by the original prospector, Bill Harris, who you've met, and his wife, Sue Craig, at the bottom of the market in 2003. And they put together this property. And the real reason they put it together was not just the historical work that was done on it, but it was one of the only properties in the Yukon that had, at that time, government access, government infrastructure access, not only to the property, but right through the property. So it's one of those rare properties in a remote area that's actually blessed with great infrastructure.
Wow.
And so that's why we were able to be so, cost efficient last year in our exploration program.
Sure. So from an investment speculative perspective, the catalysts in the near term are lots of drill results coming from the lab.
Yeah, we've drilled 72, 73 holes this year, 18,000 meters. We did 13,000 meters last year. We've got 50,000 meters of historical data that Northern Free Gold / now Triumph Gold has, let alone all the old data that was put together, through 80 years and different owners. So
Awesome.
It's pretty exciting.
Okay, John, well, we're going to keep an eye on it. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, great. Thanks for having me, and it's really good to see you again.
You too.
Okay.